hold up. Tupac is a lyricist. See what I'm saying? It's just that he's not one of those lyrical MCs that spit stuff, but his stuff is, he spit deep lyrics that touch your soul.
And then what Big did, which I was like, that's why Pac was on Jay, because of Brooklyn's finest. If they have twins, you probably have two Pacs. Get it? Two Pacs. And Jay's on the record with him. So now he's like, you, ain't no like me, Jay-Z. Then he start bombing on Jay.
Tupac, he really had an issue with Jay-Z. He really didn't like him then.
Not at all. I think that if Pac was alive, it would have been a whole different story. And as much money as Jay-Z has, he still hasn't accomplished what Tupac accomplished before he was at 25 years old.
Big Daddy Kane just dropped a bomb about Jay-Z and Tupac, and no one saw this twist coming. Turns out, the story we've been fed for years might be missing some major details. Now, it's no secret that Kane was the one who helped launch Jay-Z's career. That's facts. Jay used to open up for him, spitting bars during Kane's stage shows, vibing in his crew's cypher like he was next in line for the crown. But here's the wild part. As Jay climbed higher, Kane's name started getting erased from the story, like he was never even part of the rise. And it gets even messier when you bring Tupac into the picture. While Kane was lifting Jay up on the East Coast, Pac was out west, sending warning shots. He was calling out the game, exposing fake rappers, and yeah, he had words for Jay too. So what's Kane really hinting at? Did Jay-Z just get inspired, or did he snatch the torch without giving credit? Did he build his empire by stepping right over Kane and Pac and then never looked back? Let's dig deeper into this.
Jay-Z, I heard that no one really wanted to sign him when you were shopping him around the record labels. Is that true?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This was, I want to say, I don't know, 90, 91 maybe. We was, Jay, we recorded some songs, probably about 4 or 5 songs on Jay-Z, and shopped them to several different record labels, and they all passed.
Back in the early 90s, when Jay-Z was just another hungry MC trying to get noticed, Big Daddy Kane did something major. He brought Jay out on the road during his Chocolate City tour. While Kane was backstage switching outfits, he let Jay freestyle on stage, giving him real shine in front of live crowds. And it didn't stop there. Kane actually helped record demos with Jay, laying down tracks and pitching them to major labels. But here's the kicker. Those labels weren't feeling Jay-Z at all. Kane revealed that pushing Jay to the industry was a struggle because the execs just weren't vibing with his style at the time. Still, Kane never switched up. He believed Jay had potential and stayed behind him. And yeah, turns out he was spot on. But now it gets messy. Jay-Z's early flow, that fast-paced, silky smooth delivery with sharp edges, that's straight Kane influence. Yet over the years, Jay's interviews, documentaries, and even his own storytelling barely mention Kane, like that entire chapter just faded out. In Jay's book, Decoded, he gives Kane a quick shout for teaching him timing and stage presence. But that's it. No deep credit, no real flowers. And Kane? He definitely noticed the silence. There were even whispers that Jay took a jab at Kane on Do It Again, where he raps. I've seen the same ish happen to Kane. Some folks took that as shade, like Jay was brushing off his own mentor in front of the whole world.
I remember actually having a record deal through a production deal with someone else and recording, and then the next thing you know, someone else on the label blew up.
3 cuts in your eyebrows trying to wild out. That line had heads turning, and not just because it sounded cool. Big Daddy Kane was famous for rocking 3 slits in his eyebrows. It was his trademark look back in the late 80s and early 90s, a bold style move that became part of his whole brand. So when Jay-Z dropped that line on Do It Again, it didn't just feel random. It sounded like a slick shot at Kane. Even though Jay never confirmed anything, the tone was cold and sharp. And considering Kane's spotlight had dimmed by the late 90s while newer artists were taking over, the timing hit hard. Jay had once looked up to Kane, was mentored by him, and now he's possibly mocking the same man who put him on? Even Angie Martinez reportedly called out the line on her show, saying it felt like a diss, which only made the rumors spread faster. Kane eventually played it cool and brushed it off in public. But behind the scenes, the tension didn't just vanish. Jay has openly said he studied Kane's moves backstage, soaking up everything: the stage presence, the charisma.
You got to go back to Brooklyn's Finest. I was dead set against it. I was telling Jay, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And he was like, why? And I was just like, he's too strong. I said, but before we take over the world, we got to take over the West Coast. Before we take over the West Coast, we got to take over the East Coast. Before we take over the East Coast, we got to take over New York. Before we take over New York, you got to take over Brooklyn. And he owns all that. And I was like, this is not a whack. So I was just like, I was in fear that I was like, yo, you may come off like this little man. You understand?
But once Jay built his image as a slick-talking hustler, Kane stepped back, letting him do his thing. Now, years later, Kane's asking the real question. Did Jay push him out of the spotlight on purpose? Did he fade him out of the legacy just to make room for his own legend? But here's the twist. Kane wasn't the only one noticing the game changing. Right around the same time Kane was being pushed to the side, Tupac was stepping up and straight up calling out the industry's dirty moves. Now Kane's hinting that Pac saw it all happening. The switch from real deal storytellers to flashy rappers chasing clout, cash, and control. And yeah, one of the names that kept creeping into that new wave? Jay-Z.
I think Pac was more upset that that word was getting back to him, that the people that did do this to him was affiliated one way or another with Biggie and them, whether they was extorting him or word got back that they was going to do this to Pac. So this is one of the reasons that Pac was upset.
Back then, there were all kinds of whispers that Jay-Z felt threatened by Pac. Like deep down, he knew he couldn't match that wild, electric energy Pac brought to every room. Jay had the bars, no doubt. But Pac? He had that rare presence and that it factor you just can't fake or copy. And yeah, things got heated. Jay and Pac actually had real tension before Pac's death. And it started when Jay linked up with Biggie and took subtle shots at the West Coast. Both Jay and Big were Bed-Stuy natives, and by the early 90s, they were tight.
Bro, you filled them shoes though. You came in and you know what I'm saying? So we definitely give thanks for you. You know what I'm saying? Because you definitely, came in and I just know how much Big like really looked up to Jay. You know what I'm saying? They looked up to each other.
In 1996, they dropped Brooklyn's Finest, one of the standout tracks on Jay's debut, Reasonable Doubt. But that track, it lit the match.
And yeah, that is crazy to have to step into the shoes of like two people, because that's all it was really, was those two people. And they had like the game, they had things on lock. Hove was coming, you know what I'm saying? But like, it was like these two cats was just so big, you know what I'm saying? And then so it's like to have all of that, like, come on you and have that responsibility to keep this shit fly and keep the art of it going. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because I think Hov really kept Hov kept the art of it going and was able to take where they was at and take it, take it even higher.
According to Irv Gotti, who was right there working with Jay at the time, he tried to shut it down. He warned Jay not to feature Biggie on the song. The East Coast versus West Coast beef was already spiraling, and Irv knew throwing Big's name in the mix might be all it took to turn things explosive. Pac and Biggie actually started off as friends, tight even. But everything went left in '94 when Pac got shot 5 times during a robbery at Quad Studios in NYC. After that, Pac was convinced Biggie and Diddy had some type of heads up and stayed quiet. That felt like a betrayal he just couldn't shake off.
Biggie always denied knowing anything about the setup, but Pac wasn't buying it.
After that shooting, it got ugly fast. Pac and Big started throwing jabs out in the open, and just before Jay dropped Brooklyn's Finest, Biggie released Who Shot Ya?, a track many believed was aimed straight at Pac. At that point, the East Coast versus West Coast beef wasn't just music, it was full-blown war. That's why Irv Gotti warned Jay-Z to pump the brakes. Dropping a song with Biggie right then? Bad timing. But Jay didn't listen. He went ahead and released Brooklyn's Finest anyway. And sure enough, Biggie's verse stirred the pot even more. He called Pac his son and threw in slick lines about the Faith Evans drama, a move that only made the beef more personal.
Pac went in the studio and did a song together. And then them little dudes.
Outlaws.
Yeah.
Outlaws.
They came, like, as soon as we got there, they came up to Pac talking about, yo, Lauryn Hill dissed you, Mobb Deep.
Pac didn't stay quiet. He clapped back at Jay-Z directly on tracks like Bomb First, My Second Reply, and Effort Friends. Fans were hyped, waiting for Jay to fire back with a diss of his own. But he never dropped anything. Why? Because just weeks later, Pac was gunned down in that tragic Vegas drive-by. Now here's the wild part. Jay actually did write a response. A savage diss track called Scathing, reportedly aimed straight at Pac, but he never released it. Word is, Jay didn't want to escalate things while Pac was still alive. That track stayed in the vault, and barely anyone even knows it exists. After Pac's death, Jay-Z actually performed that unreleased diss track, Scathing, live at the Apollo. According to DJ Clark Kent, the song was brutal, with lines so disrespectful it had folks in shock. Jay only performed it once, and Clark said it felt like Jay was finally unloading years of tension, like he had something to prove and couldn't hold it in anymore. But why would Jay air out a diss after Pac was already gone? Well, rumors have been circling for years that Jay felt a certain relief when Pac died. Some say he was always low-key intimidated by him. Like, no matter how sharp Jay's lyrics were, he knew he couldn't outshine Pac's larger-than-life presence. And get this! Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal, claimed that Jay was so shaken by Pac's rep that one time in Vegas, he straight up refused to leave his hotel room for a show just because Pac and his crew were in the city.
The story is that Jay was going to try to perform in Vegas, but Pac was in Vegas, and him and his dudes now. And they wasn't going to let Jay-Z come out the hotel. They found out where Jay was at. And Jay wasn't going to come out the hotel. He was going to miss that performance or whatever like that, do that concert, and Jay was scared of the motherfucker. Jay wasn't coming out that hotel until he got clearance.
That says a lot about the energy Pac carried. Over time, fans started calling Jay sneaky. Not because he held back, but because he never dissed Pac directly while he was alive. Instead, Jay and his East Coast circle were known for tossing slick subliminals, little coded shots meant to get under Pac's skin. And it worked. They knew Pac was emotional, passionate, and they used that to spark reactions. People who were close to the scene say Jay's jealousy was real. No matter how hard Jay went with the pen, he couldn't compete with that raw magnetism Pac had. That kind of charisma, you can't study it, you can't fake it. And Jay knew it. Even Nas couldn't keep quiet about it. In an interview, he dropped a bombshell. He said Jay-Z once told him straight up that he was a better rapper than both Biggie and Tupac. Nas told Vibe, "We were kicking it, and he told me that he's better than Biggie. I looked at him like he was crazy. Then he really got crazy and said that Tupac and DMX were not lyricists." Nas wasn't having it. He said, "I told him I disagreed, that Tupac was the greatest ever, period." And that moment right there says a lot about how Jay saw himself and how far he was willing to go to claim the top spot. But that's not the only reason fans have called Jay-Z a snake. Let's not forget, even after wild rumors started flying about Diddy possibly being linked to Pac's murder, Jay stayed tight with him. And once both Pac and Biggie were out of the picture, Diddy started hyping Jay as the one to carry the torch, saying he was the only one who could fill their shoes. All while the streets were talking and the industry was buzzing with suspicion. And through all the smoke, Jay stuck close. That is, until 2023, when the Cassie lawsuit against Diddy exploded in the headlines and turned everything upside down. Then suddenly, Jay switched it up and claimed him and Diddy were never even friends, like he just forgot all those years of photos, parties, and partnerships. So what's the real story here? We've got Big Daddy Kane hinting at betrayal and feeling forgotten. We've got Tupac sending warnings before he passed. And we've got Jay-Z, calm, calculated, always one step ahead, who might have built his empire not just with talent, but by coldly stepping over those who helped him rise. No one's denying Jay is a legend, but more and more of his peers are speaking out, saying his legacy might be drenched in betrayal and power moves that left others behind. So now it's your turn. What do you think? Was Jay just doing what he had to in a cutthroat game? Or did he take it too far? Did he leave Kane in the dust once he made it big? And was he really jealous of Pac's raw presence? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And hit that bell so you don't miss what's coming next. I'll catch you in the next one.